The Empire is led by three brother kings who rule the continent of Xalaron. The eldest is Leo the Lion Primarch, the second brother is John the Lionheart, who resides in the Lion's Keep, and the youngest of the brothers is Leon the Pantheron, who governs beside his eldest brother, Leo. Together they maintain balance and peace throughout the realms of Xalaron. In the south lies the kingdom of the Nemean Castle, home to the Red Lion Knights and its Crusaders, a defector nation of the crowned Blue Lion Knights. This faction is the master of shock combat troops in an open field by their versatility, led by their king, Anax the Mighty, who is the long-lost relative to the first emperor of Xalaron. The king has his successor, a crowned prince named Malik. With the conflict of who decides the succession to the throne, he and his loyalists were droved out to the kingdom, and ever since became cold and neutral to the affairs of Xalaron. The garrison survived the First War, and its soldiers were few due to the depletion of their men and resources, though few and the only remnants of its long crusade. From the wars to come, their future in uncertain to what comes next. In the lands of the northeastern borders lies the kingdom of Dwarven folk, the Dwarf Mountain Fortress. The dwarves created a stronghold of impregnable walls and towers that kept the invaders away from their trinkets of gold, diamonds, and jewels. There are 3 houses of dwarves which have their own purpose of maintaining their stronghold. In each of their own, they protect and mine the very caverns full of ores, a mastercraft of luxury and shining treasures. The first house is called the Ironbeards. They are the ironclad warriors who serve as royal guards of their king, Nuruddin the Hammer. The next house is called the Blackthorn. They serve as the soldiers and secure their borders. Lastly, the Unearthers explore and mine the very caverns and discover dungeons. Below the citadel of Xalaron and the Western Bay lies the Nexus Point, an outpost camp of the most advanced and mechanical warfare units called the Nexon Knights, a faction that supported the crowned kings in times of conflict and wars that ensued in the realms. The very first unit of Vanguard to respond and repel the enemy. A diverse unit with colors to intimidate the enemy and assigned purpose of vanquishing their foe with their respective roles and engagement in warfare. At the back lies the cavalry bike alongside the Lancer, a horseback knight. The infantry is composed of light and heavy units, depending on their armor and weapon, like the long spearmen. And the shielded clads, sword and shield soldiers, and the heavy units are the mace clads. Lastly, the Mechanicus is a walking iron and steamed oiled machinery to overpower the ranks of the enemy, or to face an equal giant of a monster. Few in numbers, yet they are tenacious. In the lands below the Dwarf Mountain Fortress lies the dense seas of trees, forests that are ancient, that are home to the elves, protectors and interpreters of nature.
The elves are a neutral faction, as they protect their borders of the Woodsland realm, immortal defenders of the foray, tending the land with their great care. It is said that their moon goddess grant them eternal life to become the stewards of nature. The elves are rarely seen to come out of their forest kingdom. It seems that they do not want to be involved in the affairs of men and other creatures. Their elder foresaw a vision of the future, a death and fiery destruction of their home from the invasion.
Above the Dwarf Mountain Fortress lies an island bastion named Dragon's Keep, home of the Dragon Knights, a faction that is opposed by the Empire by the obscure ideals and conducting rituals of blood and fire.
The Dragon Knights, it is said during the First War, their mounted dragons helped to push back the enemies and their invaders of the realm from the First War. Their dragons are bound to their rider. A bond must forge to create a pact, as their forever tamed beasts. Despite the aid of their dragons, their army are strong and ferocious in combat. They have mastered the dragonfire smithing. It is rumored that their armor equals at best by the Dwarven forge smiths, donning their black charred armor and their razor-sharp weapons. This kingdom is a neutral faction. Unless provoked, they will face fury and dragonfire.
Above the Dragon's Keep lies the home of the Black Falcon, the Falcon's Nest. It is near the hurricane snow, the blizzard's end. An unending snow is bearing down, yet still habitable to the falconers, and the kingdom survived the long cold, despite the harsh and unceasing snow. The falconers, the realm considered them one of the strongest kingdoms with its battle-seasoned warriors, disciplined by harsh cold of albeit winds. Their king, Zephyr the Winter, is the succession of the old king by his father's father, a long rule of pure blood of the royal family. His army is most feared throughout the realm of men and creatures. The valor and brute force of their ranks conquered the lands of Falcon's Keep, and these troops are organized and well-equipped soldiers to fend off invaders and capable of siege warfare battles. If the Falcons want to wage a war with their neighboring countries, no one can stand in their way. Only a cold and blood will drench the ground in their wake. The unnamed lands are the independent states and countries that manage to operate and survive without the aid of the Empire. Salaran, this faction either supports the Empire through its politics and war conflicts, or they will remain as neutral kingdoms, simply observing how the events unfold from their distant castles from the mainland. This faction is a diverse army from different lands and sorts of units. The first independent state is an alliance of defector knights, armed militia, a combat crossbow squad, and the Shadow Troop, a ninja-like knight, all led by their appointed leader, King Richmond. The second faction is composed of 4 regiments, all of which are different compositions of soldiers, guardians, and heroes. The first unit is the Roman Republic, led by Marcus the Wise, on horseback, a single battalion led by his gladiator, Spartacus, to defend his growing nation. The second unit is the remnants of the Greek pantheon, the Spartans. Their honor is bound and forged in battle, and only in death does their duty end, led by a demigod, Kratos the Destroyer. Thirdly, a squad of Valkyries is said they be formidable in battle. If you bested them in combat, they will accompany you to the afterlife, into the halls of Valhalla. Finally, the heroes. They are a band of unified kingdoms. Label the Champion, Akira the Sword Maiden, Ajax the Weapon Master, Khadgar the Invoker, Jane of the Frost Arcane, Ash the Frost Ranger. They come together for one purpose: to vanquish the evil. The next independent realms are home to the Lords of the Horse Masters, the Riders of Rohan. They roam their lands within their borders and are forever vigilant of the ensuing wars and conflicts of their neighboring kingdoms, growing ever closer to their borders. They are led by their king, Theoden the Strong. His army of horse riders are a vast number of skillful warriors on horseback, especially his archers. Moving on to the next independent state is the Kingdom of Gondor, known for their disciplined and versatile soldiers that can hold off their enemy lasting years of siege and warfare. Their army is composed of cavalry, heavy ironclad spearmen, and swordsmen, all led by Aragorn the Dunedain, and his commander beside him is Boromir the Brave. The northwestern shores, above the Tirisfal Mountains, lie the ruined realms, the remnants of the destroyed kingdoms, watchtowers, and settlements. The glory of what was now become a bygone history, the ruined kingdoms served as a warning to what war would engulf your kingdoms. It is now home to the mercenaries, bandits, sell swords, heretics, and cultists of Mechanicus called the Cybernetics. Firstly, the cult of the Mechanicus replaced their flesh with cogs and mechanisms to enhance combat effectiveness. The band of pirates, mercenaries, and mutants, all crazed for blood and pillaging villages, raiding isolated villages from the Empire. However, the mutants capture the villagers and captive experiments for their enhanced controlled monsters and berserker. War parties of cults and mercenaries claim the ruined realms as their staging camp. A future isn't far from conflict. On the southeastern waters near the stormy seas called Maelstrom, within those seas lie the cold, blighted lands called the Withering Right Isles. The two islands are home to the necromancers and demon worshippers. Their acts are seen heinously by the Holy Order of the Light. The undead are a faction of the diseased villagers and soldiers, casualties from the First War. The acolytes and cultists gather these bodies to reanimate them, the spell books of necromancy. The dead are woken by a powerful witch, and beings that are left silent are now walking among the living. The witch's name is Ethereal the Blightcaster. She condemns the world into the eternal darkness. A blight paradise, she calls it. She now treads a path with her undead army. If Ethereal's acolytes have successfully opened a portal to their dark gods in the outworld called the Nether Realm, home to the demons and demoness who crave death and destruction in their wake. Their leader, Mephisto the Conjurer, Leadfoot soldiers, Hellblazers, and flying horrors will shake the ground of their barbaric blood-drunk hunger for life essence. In other words, a soul above the Withering Right Isles. The northwestern islands called the Dark Isles are home to the Lizardmen called the Naga. Legends say that they are direct descendants of the Nuru and Merfolk lineage, a serpentine line from a bygone empire. And now the Lizardmen remained as their successors. And yet the pure-blooded ones can traverse on land and sea, primitive yet ferocious. And the Naga are some of the most dangerous foes to ever face and trifled with. Attacking land and sea makes them outmaneuver their enemies, exposing the weakest part of their enemies. None dared to enter the deep and dark jungle of these creatures lurk, for none returned, only the bone-chilling cries and screams of the victims. This army of scaled warriors is composed of a Murloc slasher, an outrunner, scaled warriors, Naga spellcasters, and the Naga Mimic. This faction is led by a pureblood resembling human features by their ancestors, the Merfolk, and his name is Draken the Pure. On the western shores of the Dark Isles lies the realm of monsters, raptors, orcs, uruks, and goblins. This realm is called the Badlands. Surviving is a challenge to where all creatures are coming to you. The first unit was the Goblin tribe. They settled in the middle of the continent. Their leader, a humongous hobgoblin named Gorgoth with his bone golden mace. His tribe is composed of goblin headhunters and goblin grunts.
Beneath the Badlands, between the forests and sandy hills, lies the Orc tribe, a small tribe of orcs growing, yet unfortunately placed in the middle of the continent of the Badlands, were goblin tribes and warg riders, all locked in warring territories. The Orc tribe is few now since the warbands joined and died in the First War, and these are the survivors, and they are led by a chieftain named Urgoth the Skull Smasher. His war troops are composed only of heavily armored units of Uruk-hai, with their befriended giant troll with 2 chained hammers. From the northeastern lands of the Badlands, from below the ash swamps, near the hills and forest, there lie the forest troll tribes. With the greenery of shrubs and trees, they are the masters of ambush from the camouflage of their skins on their surroundings. The forest trolls are the masters of ambush warfare in their surrounding trees and forest, known for their brute strength. This orc faction is capable of dual-wielding weapons, besting their foes and rivals. They have a shaman, an elemental caster from lightning to earth-shaking havoc, capable of casting berserker spells in their ranks. In their tribe, they attained a troll warrior to even their battles in the land. The next area in the Badlands is from the very below the continent, known as the Dunes Sands, a plain sandland where minimal nature of greenery, a few shrubs, and raptors. Despite the harsh land, one orc tribe is considered as nomads. They are called the Warg Riders, and they tame the land and kill for their sustenance.
This orc tribe has no permanent settlement. They only move onwards on their tamed beasts. This orc clan is led by Azig the Gundabad. His war party of warg riders is responsible for finding food as hunters, and at the same time with their deadly steed and his battle season riders, they can go to war in their rival orc tribes or any foe that stands in their way. Near the Bay of the Dead Man's Cove, within the middle of the Badlands, there live a giant beast, an awhile. This towered creature roamed the lands in search for food and a fight to be reckoned, wandering aimlessly in the hills, looking for bloody fight, or to satiate its drive of hunger. This creature is capable of facing a squad of foes. With its right hand, held a giant war axe, a makeshift weapon that bundled into rocks and iron in the ruins. With the swing of its axe can cleave its foes into a half or leave a deep wound that agonizes its enemies. Its immense strength is powerful from any giants before it. Another giant creature dwells back in the lands of ash swamps. There another towered creature. It is said it came from the evolution of Lizardmen. Even the trolls did not dare to enter its lair. The peak evolution of the Lizardmen, it is called the menacing croc. It has the look of its fellow Lizardmen, but more primal and berserk. It can swim in the waters and walk on land, stalking and preying to those who stepped in its territory. A brutal death by its large jagged jaws and elongated claws will come to its foes. In the Peak Mountains on the Dead Man's Cove, above the Badlands, is home to the most dangerous monster of all the land. Its roar is deafening, its claws are long like swords, its stomps are quake-like, and his thirst for battle and hunger are insatiable. This monster is called the Rancor. Its home are in the deep caves and caverns to where rests and eats. Out in the day, he stalk and roam the lands in search of a worthy foe or a food to satiate its hunger. The Rancor is the last of its species. Legend says that the Dark Lord used his brethren as in war beasts in the First War. Its mouth can expand to devour its prey fully because of its high acid digestion. Its claws can slash and cleave through any objects, leaving them a bloodied wound and a fatal death to its prey and foes that dared in his territory. The Rancor, the awhile, and the menacing croc are locked in combat to proclaim the title. These monsters display strength and fight endlessly to be called as the Alpha. The three towered monsters are bound in battle to proclaim the title as an alpha monster. The main denizens of the Badlands are a primal lizard called the raptors. Some are bred for hunters, and others try to leave peacefully to survive, and mainly they are the source of sustenance. The raptors are divided into different types. Most are carnivorous, also known as the hunters. They moved in packs and coordinate their attacks and pounce their prey and maul it to its death and devour them for life essence. They vary in size and type, either big or small. And the other are the herbivore creatures, known as the allidas. Their diet is composed only of shrubs and greenery leaves from bushes and trees. These creatures are the local denizens of the Badlands. Yet in this realm, this sets on a world of kill or be killed. It is said by the elders of the old tribes, the Orcs once tamed these creatures. Used as a mounted beasts in the first war that devastated the world, by the Horde. The Badlands converge into one united faction, another warband, another Horde. All creatures and monsters come to an understanding to what they formed, to wage war. Riches and bountiful lands are ripe for the taking, raiding villages and pillaging, to fight an equal or insatiable to taste blood and clashes of armies. They all unite to invade the neighboring realms and kingdoms. To restore the honor and losses from the First War, they became a nation of brute and valor in tenacity. The Horde is united again. However, in the far reaches of the world's end, in the glass of the dark realms, an observer of a dark being twisting all the fates and flow of events to ensue chaos, while the light continues to shine all the realms of hope, forever in a battle between the forces of light and darkness. This is the age of iron and blood. All factions in all realms and kingdoms will come to play in the game of the gods. This world is their playing field. The second age has come. The Horde from the Badlands already are on the move, sending all emissaries to all realms to join the forces of darkness, to which the Dark One manipulates the tread of events, or risk their realms plunged into the flames of turmoil. War will come to all beings. How will the Empire defend its realms and its people? Who knows? An uncertain future full of death and blood. Now, you know all of the realms and kingdoms of Menethil. The future is uncertain, yet insightful to what comes next. How will the Empire of Xeron take action to the coming inevitable war that is to come in the realms? A war on all fronts will besiege the lands and kingdoms of all free peoples of Menethil. The world is now beset on a conflict that will change the course of history in the Second Age. Some say it is the end, because the war will end differently. How will the Empire of Xeron take course of action to what conflict that lies on their kingdom? How the kings will handle threat on their doorstep? Their answer is to defend and wage a defensive war to drive back and vanquish the forces of darkness. They're not alone. The three brother kings sent emissaries, all riders carrying a message, inviting them all in the seat of council to discuss matters and what treaty and agreement will come to be when the war wages on their realms and the aftermath relations. All banners of kingdoms will set aside their hostilities and neutrality to face a common enemy that is vast and preventing the ending of the world of Menethil in the Second Age. This unity of the free peoples of Xeron will be called the Alliance. Forces of light and iron will hold the line and the defenses of the continent. With the future uncertain, turning tides of light and darkness collide into a warfare. The brother kings of Xeron will defend their realm. To be continued on the next chapter.